Welcome to Vlog Thursday, episode 293. So, wow, that's a lot of them. That's interesting. 293, so close to that 300 mark, just a few weeks away. Now, in my attempt, as I made last time, to be more organized, I have notes that I'll read from a little bit, as I want to start covering these things kind of on the regular as part of my beginning, because I like meeting people sometimes. Okay, no, all the time. I do like meeting people. I'm going to be at a couple events, so what I'm going to do at each of these vlogs is kind of let you know where I'm going to be, what I got going on. And I did confirm everything, even though the hotel moved and a few details changed, but I will be at DattoCon September 11th through the 13th of 2022. So you can Google and figure out where that is over in Washington, D.C. and the details, though. But I know a lot of you are in the IT MSP space, so maybe a lot of you will already be there. So hello and greetings if I see you there. GERCON, October 13th and the 14th of 2022. That's held in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So local for me, relatively local. It's a couple hours away. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to be at Ohio Linux Fest December 2nd and 3rd, 2022. So that's a couple of the upcoming events that I have that you can probably find me at somewhere wandering around and things like that. So, but the topic I'm going to be starting with today is the Krebs on security thing. I was going to do a separate video on it, and I don't know if it needs a separate video, but I figure I can just at least talk about it. So if people find this video, they can jump in it right away. And we'll just read these thoughts right here. Now, me and Chris from Crosstalk had done some videos talking about this. This was the insider threat, which is a really tricky threat to deal with when it comes to doing things securely. Is how do you deal with the person who's in charge of a lot of security, potentially trying to ransomware or whatever, you extort them essentially. We covered that detail, but it's a sad thing that this person chose a really horrible thing that will pretty much not only get them jail time, but also I don't think they're ever going to work in this industry again. Anyone who figures out who they are, Googles that person's name, it's just not going to go well for them. I mean, this is a way to completely throw your career away. Now, Krebs on security. He reported on it, and this is basically the problem. Last year, I posted a series of articles about the purported breach at Ubiquiti. My sole source for that reporting was the person who has since been indicted by federal prosecutors for his alleged wrongdoing, which includes providing false information to the press. That's an important aspect there, because false information to the press. Well, yes, that's a big problem. Now, there are people saying, well, Krebs should have multiple sources. I agree. You should have many verifiable facts as a journalist. The challenge is when you have this type of information, do you just not report on it at all? Because you're not likely to get a lot of facts. You're not, or a lot of other sources about these facts. There's not always that many people involved in it that would have some knowledge. So if you only have a few people involved and only one of them is willing to talk, obviously this becomes a real challenge to actually getting that documented. So you did only have one source. And but this is exactly what you want to see from good journalists. Is this time I missed the mark. As a result, would like to extend my sincerest apologies to Ubiquiti, and I've decided to remove those articles from my website. And, this is because as new information gets provided, and this is ultimately what we're always looking for. As new information gets provided, we change our minds, we update how we understand things. That piece of information was not known at the time, that the person telling people that there was a problem was also the person creating the problem. So thank you, Krebs, for coming clean on all of this. Now, kind of to extend and further read, and I can throw a link for people that want to dive into it. Obviously, this is very related to this, which is going to be Ubiquiti versus Krebs. And these are different court motions and filings for those of you that feel like reading some legal documents. Nothing too exciting there, but basically Ubiquiti was going after Krebs because they claiming like a defamation and it hurt their stock value. Saying a journalist did that, it comes down to intent. And I think they have a big uphill battle to prove intent. So any of these laws or any of the way these things work, it's about what the person intended to do, not the actions or the results that happen. You got to think about the purpose and the reason people do things. And did Krebs go out on this article to inform us about a big company and potential security problems? That was Krebs's position as, or was his goal to tank their stock, which it didn't tank it dramatically. I mean, of course, anytime there's news about a major breach problem with a company, their stock is going to go down a bit. So it's an uphill battle for them to prove it. But I think this is probably because this last filing, we can jump in real quick here on this. It was kind of weird because I don't really understand. There's just a series of extensions that the court granted to Krebs. And in support of the request, let me think here. There was an interesting part of this. They didn't hear back from the lawyers. And that's what I thought was kind of strange. Like Ubiquiti's lawyers, defendants counsel hope that nothing tragic has occurred, but this radio silence unusual and otherwise productive relationship. So it's kind of saying that Ubiquiti quit responding. So I don't know if that means you're dropping it. I'm not a legal expert, so I don't know a lot about the details of that legal case there. So nonetheless, I don't think it would be uphill battle to prove intent. You would have to like prove he intended to hurt them and maybe he had a financial interest doing it. It's a stretch. And it's not the first time journalists have been targeted for things like that. But yeah, it is what it is. Team Krebs in the house. Yeah. Riley's here as well. Me and Riley have discussed this because, it's an interesting thing. I don't know. I don't want to see people going after what is an otherwise generally respected journalist. I mean, Krebs is not perfect, so someone's going to post links, but Krebs that one time, did this or did that. Yes, he's still human. I'm not saying he is the single source of truth for all things, but generally speaking, he's got some good reporting he does on cybersecurity, and he's done some in-depth things. So I would overall say he's pretty credible. Greetings, son, who has joined the room. A wild Marcus enters behind me. Yes. He's only going to post the lower half here. Did you just come to say hi? Because you wanted to be on the stream?
Hi.
Yes, my son has made it on a stream. So he is getting a new computer build for his birthday. At least that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
Because your computer is sad and slow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes. Ooh, awesome. How does that show up inside of here? So I want to
10 gifted. Woo.
Yes. So this is interesting. This doesn't actually show up. So let me go ahead and bring it to where I can bring it to share it. See, will that work if I do this? And share it back on here. See if that works. Hey, look at that. So thank you very much, Mac Telecom Networks, for gifting that. It doesn't show up in the StreamYard chat, so I can't show it that way. But I can show it here. So awesome for doing that donation there. That is definitely great. And I've referenced a couple times Cody from Mac Telecom Networks and their channel. So yeah, the gifting is new. Maybe StreamYard hasn't caught up with it. So you're not able to see it. I'm not able to share it through StreamYard, but I'm able to share it this way. Actually, can I make this more readable, legible? I don't know. Let me find out. Does that make it? It makes it look a little better. Trickiness of doing some of these things, but there we go. We have the gifted 10 Lawrence Smithson membership. So I don't know how that works. I'm completely new to it myself. I didn't even know you could do that until this moment. So I've learned something on this live stream. Sad and so computer. Yeah. Oh, to have a dad like Tom Lawrence who just gets computers. Yes. Unfortunately, how's your hacking skills, Marcus?
Impeccable.
Yeah. His interest in computers kind of stops at I'm getting a gaming computer.
Yeah. I mean, I know how to do the basics.
He knows how. I got to make him learn more computer.
I can do basic troubleshooting. That's it.
Yes, for sure. Do they have to prove intent if he claimed he was negligent acting without two sources? I don't know. And that's where I'm not. One thing's for sure, and this holds true in the United States pretty well. It is really not easy to deal with a lot of First Amendment things because it is very frequent the courts side on freedom of press, and for good reason. There's a reason we have a good freedom of press. It is a fundamental thing that is part of our Constitution and is often cited. And it is very important to have a free press that can say things and not have companies stifle that. So it takes a lot to prove that. So I don't know. My guess is, especially that, I'm not a legal expert, but seeing that Ubiquiti's lawyers kind of stop responding in some of the later things, and that's what those things are. Read through those court filings. Maybe someone who understands law better than me understands it. But I kind of feel like if Ubiquiti's not responding, they're kind of like, we're going to drop it or whatever. Because I think they did to prove a point, put people on warning, maybe, hey, could potentially do this, but yeah.
Have fun with geek stuff.
I'm going to have fun with geek stuff, Marcus. We'll get pizza when we're done. I know that's the other reason he's down here. Yes. Bye. User organization always ask for endpoint protection software and use things like that. The primary threat is internal, not external firewalls. Don't get hacked like the movies. Yeah, we'll go with that. Oh, we got lots of people saying hello, hello, hello. Hello from Germany. Hello from Italy. Awesome. Gives on some money and can also use his emotes or other incentives YouTubers can do, like being able to new videos early. Yeah, I am really ramping things up, and I want to maybe hire an editor soon. So I can do that. I need to hire a social media person, I think, because I get caught up doing it. I like doing the social media stuff, but I also want to produce more content. And then if I spend time doing social media, I'm doing less content. So I need people say, hey, why don't you come up with some new shirts? I'm like, well, because we're really busy and we're doing that internally. But I would hire someone to do shirt design. So someone, if you're someone who can offer up some shirt designs, I'm willing to compensate for your time. I'm not asking anyone to work for me for free. I would not do that. YouTube is part of a business. YouTube has an income to it, and I don't mind spending that money with the people that provide value to the channel and social media. So I'm easy enough to reach out to. DM me on Twitter or however you want to contact me. Our help form on our website. Never direct email. I don't reply. Anyone who's ever figured out my email address or thinks they have, most of that goes to a Bitbucket. I don't have time for emails. My emails are extremely only people I know I might reply to. Everything else just goes to archives because I don't really have time to deal with that. There's a reason I have forms and contact forms to organize that data. Just a lot of people talk to me and I like to communicate, but just got to be cognizant of how I do that. How do you handle migrating existing Iscsi clients to TrueNAS to a new TrueNAS server? I guess it depends on what you're trying to do. You can just move the data and reattach it. That's one way to do it. You can copy paste depending on how move the files. I guess I'd need to know more context. Probably it's a better forum post than it is a post here. But if you're moving it to a new TrueNAS, if you do the data, if you migrate the data and then attach the Iscsi to the new data location on the new TrueNAS, there you go. What was the next thing? Hold on. This is why we have these lists to keep me a little bit on topic. Just a little on topic. Videos I'm working on before we jump into some of the other topics. PF Sense for MSP, UniFi for MSP. Those are a couple of videos, and business email compromise. Those are a couple of upcoming things I want to work on as part of a series because I get a lot of questions as to how we manage it. So I'm going to tell you how we manage it, and you may or may not like how we manage it, and that'd be fine. But at least you'll have the answer because the question comes up so much about how we do UniFi or how we do it. It's like a repeated question. So I want to make sure I'll have that clear, like how we as a business manage these things. So just something that's going to be good talking points for people that are in the IT space that manage things for other businesses. That's going to be hopefully clarifying to a lot of people who ask that question all the time. Speaking of silly questions, before we get to the next topic, there was at least one silly question that someone had today. And let's go ahead and pull that up because I don't understand this question. Actually, where do we put that window? Where's that chat window at? Here it is. We'll get rid of the chat window. There we go. But someone asked me a silly question today. And it's this one right here. We'll wait for it to load. And it's people who this question is not the first time it's come up. And that's part of why I want to bring it up. Where's my other Twitter feed? There we go. Let me zoom in on the tweet. And it's just watch your recent podcast looking at Go Teleport. Can't see where documents, controls, implement, prevent, and compromise. That's answered in there too in this tweet. I can, for those of you that like to follow along with the tweet, let me just throw it in here real quick. But Tailscale is not much better. I don't know what that means other than Tailscale's not documenting what happens if a Tailscale node gets taken over. Tailscale declared a comment. What is this? Is one of those things that people conflate a lot. They go, oh, Tailscale's not going to do anything for security if my node gets compromised. That's correct. Because that's not the responsibility. Tailscale is a network transport layer management tool. Now it does have ACLs, but those ACLs are not going to be aware of who is operating the client. So if you have Tailscale bridging connectivity between devices as it's designed to and following the ACLs you put in place, and then that node gets compromised, well, then the node's compromised. The controls in place are not Tailscale. So let's say you have file sharing trusts between node A and some quantity of nodes, B, C, D, etc., based on the rules that you have allowed. Well, if a node gets compromised, then a node gets compromised. You have to work on your security side, not the Tailscale side. But these are questions that keep coming up. They've come up in the comments on Tailscale. Well, what if a node gets compromised? I'm like, well, then you have to rely on internal controls for authentication. And anytime you have even a VPN layer, and an example is just general VPN, not just Tailscale, but it applies to both. Those are transport layer controls. You have your rules to allow or not allow people to access those transport layer controls, maybe some rules for what access that VPN permissions get. But then after that, that's not my only authentication. For example, in my own business, if you want to log into different things, first VPN, cool, that's step one. From there, there's a series of login pages people have to hit. So you have to understand that it's not Tailscale's job to solve this, or insert name of whatever the transport layer is. And it's kind of a weird conflation people have of, those type of things. I've thought about trying to put that into a video to explain like how you secure each layer and what the responsibilities those layers have within trust. But yeah, well, and this is it right here. If a node is compromised, you need to remove that node. Tailscale can't magically know the node is compromised. Exactly. You have to have a process and a procedure for removal of nodes, detection, response, detection. How are you detecting it? What are the endpoint tools that will lead you to knowing that is compromised? Response. What are the response triggers that you have? So there's methods and process you have to have in place for that, but it's not something for Tailscale. It is a script maybe that removes that node. That would be a response for that. So there's just some thoughts I had around that. It's weird how those questions come up quite a bit. And thank you, Grayson, for the donation. Happy with the new entertainment-only Google account specifically for YouTube. That way I can move all my email from Google Workspace to Start Mail. You try to de-Googlefy your life. It's interesting trying to de-Googlefy your life for sure. You'll realize just, how Google integrated your life is. How do you solve requirements for multi-chassis redundant switches for MLAG? I don't understand exactly what you're asking. What is you're asking what switch we choose, or we have a redundant switch what we did for client with all Cisco equipment? Is that the question? So yeah. Not exactly sure. Oh, how do I get the questions to show on the stream? Just by clicking the buttons over here. I don't use Amplify, but I don't think there's any way to add it to UniFi. Migrating actual data to the new TN server is easy. Updating all the VM Iscsi targets with least disruption is the hard part. Huh? Cool. I don't know. We can do live migrations from storage with XCP-NG. So when we move storage servers, I attach new storage server and I just migrate. I can live migrate the VMs to a new storage server without shutting them down. So that's kind of, that's an easy way to do it, is just that. So if we... Now let me find one of the VMs here. Maybe the lab template. Okay, we'll pull one up here. I just booted this up, but just to get an idea, so I can take this VM. I just hit start on it. It'll be running in a second, but it's on this particular system. This is a new lab system we're working on right here. If anyone's curious, I'll be doing a build video on this because a lot of people were asking about it, but it's just a simple new Ryzen system that we put together. But let's go back a couple. If I wanted this, once it's booted up here, show you that it's booted. If I wanted to migrate this, go to the disks, I can hit migrate. And let me zoom it in just so you can see how that looks. Migrate VDI. Where do I want to put it? Trinity. Do I want to move it to an Iscsi? I just move it here. I can't move it here because this is actually broken right now. I busted that one. But here's all different places I can move it to. If I like even a local storage option. So if I were going to move this to local storage, it's got 1.69 terabytes there. It's got 19 gig here, not a whole lot. Here's another local storage option. Here's a Iscsi. I'd hit that, hit OK. I could just migrate the live VM and then attach it to the new storage and, break down the old storage. So that's minimal disruption to me would be doing it that way. TLS proxies are useful. I have a whole video on web filtering. Watch my video. I break down information on the proxies on there. If notice comprehension, you remove that. All right. So we already covered that. Security is a layered approach if you want it to work. Yes. It's all about your threat model. If you're worried about Tailscale being compromised, probably need to look at your layers of defense for anything else. Yes. We should have multiple layers of defense. That's the important part. And while we're in here, we'll zoom this out so it's not 300% bigger. We are using the latest versions of this. And why does that matter? Because there's a new version of this that we can talk about here in a second. Greetings from Canada. This node X unit. I hope this didn't miss this part yet. I'm in the process of installing an Dell R710. Yes. So on here, when we're going to talk about the latest version of Zen Orchestra, back to school time, a new release of Zen Orchestra this month focused on backup and XO Lite. Now, I haven't tested this yet, but it's in alpha. They have a video where they cover this as well. Doing some extra Q&A tests on this release. Expect a patch release tomorrow for the missing elements in the current update. So apparently something's in there. But this is one of the things that people would ask for. Backup encryption is a long-awaited feature. How now made possible as we add a block mode to your stored data. This block mode is created to work with S3 compatible. However, it's very flexible, allow us to quickly add new features we couldn't do in plain VHD files, like compression enabled by default, encryption, and even deduplication in future. This is preview mode. So yes, not to be used as part of production. So those of you that feel like testing, awesome, test away. Anyways, it's not possible to create an encrypted backup repository in Zen Orchestra. This way you can back up your VM data any location, even untrustworthy ones. For example, without physical access, lack of control, shared network, and so on. Now, pretty easy to do. Backup encryption works by the repository level. Now, we'll show what that means here in a second. The Zen Alpha 1, I might do a separate video on that, depending on how good it looks. This is the ability to run XO Lite, so you don't need a separate VM. I want this to have its own dedicated video of how it works, some of the things in it. It's really slick what they're working on here, and this will allow you, without loading the full Zen Orchestra, to administer an XCP-NG server. It's just really cool what they're doing here. The way it works, the way you can go to the hosting URL in there. I think it's really clever the way they've implemented it. So definitely really cool there. See if we got all these questions. All right. My son in here. Boo. How would you back up all your company data if money's not a factor? I don't really, money's not the factor that stops us from doing it now. I mean, I make full images of everything. We back up hourly. I guess I could back up every half hour with faster servers, but hourly seems adequate and reasonable. So not completely sure on that question. Money's usually not the driving factor for our backups for things. I mean, nonetheless, let's talk about this backups, because it seems to be on the topic of backups. go here, backups, and we're going to go to settings, and we're going to go to remotes. And this is where you set those settings. So right here, I have my Synology backup test. Maybe I'll edit this one here. You go to the edit, custom options, and store backup, and encrypt all your data for this remote. So basically, you're putting a password in here to set the encryption on it. Pretty simple as far as how that works. Encrypt all new data sent to remote. All the files except the encryption.json are encrypted. This means you can only activate encryption or change key on an empty remote. You won't be able to get data back if you lose the encryption key. Encryption key is saved in your XO backup config file, which should be secured correctly. Be careful if you saved it in an encrypted remote, then you won't be able to access it. Yes, that would be an interesting bug. And that wouldn't be the first time. I had someone do this. They had a server, they had a backup, they encrypted it. They stored the decryption data on the desktop in a text file of that backup on the server. So on the desktop, they had that file. So when the server, in the most literal sense, there was a building fire that destroyed the server, destroyed all the backups. And when they brought, and this wasn't a client of ours, this was an emergency we tried to help with, but let them know there's nothing we can do. They never backed up that encryption key. They left it on the desktop. So without being able to restore the desktop, they never could get to the desktop that had it. Well, the server, the desktop of the server. So that's definitely, make sure you create these encryption keys and know where they are or know what they were set to be able to do this. So I'll do some testing with this because I have different backup tests I run for, testing all the time, testing ideas, testing how things work. So this is one more of those tests that I'll be doing is how the new encrypted backup works. Now, the other testing I have been doing is, and it's this one right here, the faster merge. And this is the last or 2 updates ago came out with this. It's the S3 compatible backups store the backups differently. I did a video on that topic. So it's pretty neat. They're breaking them all down into tiny little files. And they mention that in the Zen Orchestra write-up, because this is part of the backup they designed for S3. So by putting all these tiny little files together, you're able to get a different, like they said, they can iterate faster. They can break down all these little VHD files and do more things with them. It's faster to do it. It works better. It's kind of a more clever way than trying to deal with large VHD files. So pretty clever how all that works. I'm excited with all the changes they're making to it. So definitely cool stuff there. What was the next thing on my list? Oh, I did the TrueNAS video, and the TrueNAS video, I pointed out, and someone, of course, there's the snarkiness people out there. Oh, nothing major is coming to TrueNAS 13 as if it's a dead product. But TrueNAS 13, TrueNAS Core specifically, is 1, not dead. 2, is really made for the use case I have for it, using it as a storage target, using it for, all of your reliable data storage for your target, so to speak, for all your VMs, all your mass data needs. And I've got several systems updated. This is where I edit or store all my videos. Now, I want to do some more testing with scale. Wendell did a video, and he was less than kind talking about some of the problems with scale. But he's right. There's a lot of little quirky issues with scale that, well, yes, that's all there is to it. There's just some quirky issues with scale that hopefully they're working through and are going to get better. I might do some more testing with it. There's a few people that commented, and I had seen this problem in the betas, but I didn't see them after. But I guess it probably depends on what hard you're on, and that's drives getting errors on them that go away after reboot. A couple people commented on my YouTube video on that particular topic. The problem is if it's not easily reproduced, it's hard to file a bug report to get that problem fixed. So definitely an issue there, at least with whatever setup they're using. But the best place to post these things is in the forums, not necessarily as a YouTube comment. That's an important thing to think about when you're doing any of these reporting on here. I wonder if it'd be easier to use Cryptomator for backup encryption, a lot more interoperable that way. And the actual crypto is pretty solid. I don't know. I don't worry about, like, we back up to our TrueNAS, and let me show you here. If we go to storage pools, if you look at like these VM backups, they're all locked. Well, they're unlocked right now, but they are locked on boot. So if someone were to take it, like you see a little lock icon on there, it's currently unlocked. But if you're on this system, you'll learn is, and I set all these up this way. Every time you boot this up, someone's got to put in a password to unlock those particular data sets. That's because these data sets are the destination for those backups. So it's encrypted at rest. And that to me is pretty good. Also, the VMs themselves, some of them have boot passwords on them. So the VMs are also encrypted at rest. So when they do the backup, they're shut down to do the backup, they're encrypted. So there's not any, there's multiple layers of encryption that you would have to get through in order to do that. So yeah, there's a pretty solid level of encryption on there. And this would be one more layer on top of that. I don't know how necessary that layer is. It's something I'm going to do some testing. I certainly don't want to put my production backups under an alpha level encryption because it's pretty, new as a feature. So yeah, but cool that they're doing it. I'm needing to send an image to 32 computers in a classroom. How would you do it? There's a few different tools out there for imaging. I mean, I'm assuming that they're Windows servers or Windows desktops. Windows deployment services are probably the best bet for that. There's tools out there. I can't remember the name of them. What was that one called? It was a boot PE. I haven't used it in years, but there's a couple softwares out there. What was that one? It was an open source one. Open source. Disk machine. Just open source, disk cloning, 5 free. Clonezilla is another way to do it. You can do it with Clonezilla as well. That's another way to do it. So there's Clonezilla. And is it Rescue? I think you can do it with this one as well, which is just RescueZilla. So there's another one to do it there. Clonezilla, RescueZilla. There's some platforms that are way more intricate for doing it. I was trying to finally upgrade my home VLANs. Getting into VLANs, lack of supply, backwards, and MikroTik switches is what's darn annoying. It sure is. IT Security Labs. Check out their YouTube channel. Glad you can make it today as well. How dare they not add new features to a product? Yeah. They focus a lot on stability, and that's perfectly fine. Right here. WDS is great. USB with Rufus. Someone's going to have the comment in there. Fog server. Yes, that was the one I was looking for. It's been forever since I looked at this. So I don't know the quality of it or the status of this project today, but it still exists. It's fogproject.org. So that was a popular one. How does one Windows react migrating from Intel named vice versa? I know Linux has little issues. Windows doesn't seem to care too much. You can't do a live migration between them, but barring live migration, starting the VM on either one of them is not a big deal. So that's yeah, I assumed you meant an XCP-NG. Yeah, but it's not ideal that you should have mixed environments, but obviously lab environments are what's available to you and what you got to deal on more so than everything else. Windows may or may not have some hardware where Windows wants to like Windows 10 might go, hey, look, a different set of different processor. That means it's something in a window. What does the Windows do? It's the Windows like hardware. If it sees too much of a change in hardware, it wants to revalidate the license or something. I forget what that's called, but what the Windows stupidity things. You can run into that. Microsoft's convoluted and complicated licensing that they have. So that's and not much you can do about that. It is what it is. So, are you using AMT or something? I'm looking at this for nobody physically can reboot a PC. So, BitLocker is an option in Windows, and it's the Ubuntu and Debian both have encryption boot passwords. That's built in. You can set it up as part of the install, so it requires a password on boot. So that's not anything. It's nothing particularly special in Linux. It's just built into it. Matter of fact, I think this one probably has it. I mean, I like pull it up, show you what it looks like. So let me throw this in here. This is one of the lab systems we have. But it just comes up and yeah, Microsoft product activation thing. You want to be able to reboot a machine without being on site. Have an IPMI if it's a physical machine. If it's a what do you call it? Virtual machine. You're about to see how it's handled in virtual machines. Hey, look, it wants a password. It's not any more complicated than that. We got to put a password in. It's blinking down there waiting for the password. So you type the password in. This is done remotely for people if we need to encrypt it. It's really not any more complicated than that. Ninja, I don't need that on right now. So let me shut it off. Force shutdowns. I don't need it. How do you manage encryption keys for Linux? You store them in password manager. Password is there a site you can spin up and store them? We use Bitwarden, so we store them in our password manager. Yeah. IPMI or old school, use Serial Power Manager. Yes. Yeah. Bitwarden, I love Bitwarden. We've been using it for quite a while now. We self-host it internally. If you host it internally, you have to do some things such as make sure you have a valid certificate or you'll have problems, and make sure you have a valid email server because it relies on emails for certain parts of approvals. Like it's a challenge response when you add someone as a user in Bitwarden, and that challenge response starts with email, comes back, and acknowledgments go back and forth. So you do need a working mail client and you need a working valid certificate. It can be a reverse proxy. It doesn't have to be a certificate loaded within Bitwarden. Reverse proxy works perfectly fine. And that's to get the plugin working correctly. Because if you don't, the plugin will error out sometimes. It's been a while since I tried it without a cert, but if you don't have the cert, yeah, you're going to have some plugin problems. It just, and rightfully so, the plugin's looking for valid certificates. Is the gathering of those keys automated though? No, you set the keys on an individual basis. So there's no gathering of them. You on install set the keys. Therefore, you are creating them as you go. So as you create these keys, you need to store them somewhere. Bitwarden seems like a pretty good vault to store those in. Seems reasonable. And if you're a business like myself and you're using the enterprise version of Bitwarden, that allows me to create shared vaults between staff members. That way, not one staff member only has access to the vault. Then Bitwarden's a good solution for that. If the drive is ticking in the box, is that a good is a ticking the box? Yeah. Yeah. Actually, back onto the TrueNAS topic. Speaking of drives that make clicking or ticking noises, a good segue, right? Let's talk about that because I want to do a video maybe about this. This is my science. The new drives just came in today for the new. We're building in our TrueNAS server, but this one's got errors. One or more devices has experienced an unrecoverable error, and I want to make a video talking about how to deal with unrecoverable errors and what that means. And I have an unhealthy TrueNAS here, so we'll do this unhealthy TrueNAS video coming up, talking about things you can do, problems you may see. One of them is going to be, let me zoom back out so it's there. Let's see here. Which one had all the errors, or was it? Is it ADA7 or is it ADA? I think 2 is the real bad one. So let's go ahead and word wobbly. There we go. Smart control dash A. I think it's 2 we said, right? Watch me typo my way through this. ADA, is it P2? Unable to get device types. There we go. It's ADA 0. I think the other one's ADA 2. This is the one that I want to look at for old age. And look it in here. Where's it at? How many hours does this drive have? Spin up time, raw read, reload, power on hours. 60. Let me make this font size bigger. Power on hours. There we go. 65,685 hours. So there we go. How many hours has that drive been running converted to years? What make are these drives? I'll get to the drives in a second. BitLocker, where you can store, BitLocker, you're going to store an 80 Microsoft Endpoint Manager. That's a different animal than what I'm talking about here with the Linux ones. So what about the drives? So the model of drives was 65,000 hours. Let's go up to the top here. What model is this? It should be at the top here. These are Hitachi Ultrastar 7K3000. Now this drive's got some errors on it for sure. But nonetheless, it's still spinning. It's been spinning since 2015. I believe that's how the hours should add up. But it's kind of a science experiment because this is just another replication of all of our data. It's like one more backup of all of our data. So it's, kind of like how long will it last question. It's certainly lasted a long time. Yeah, 7.49 years, 7.5 years. Yep. I see 7 years there. Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot. So, someone's got one for 10 years. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot. A whole lot there. And there's a bunch of them in here that are all spinning. There's a lot of drives in this system. So they're been around for a minute. And yeah. I'm going to retire this machine, but I'm going to walk through like some of the problems I've had. How do you solve these? How do you check these things? How did I keep an eye on it? And it's beat statistics and how ZFS is resilient for it. About thin client labs. I don't do thin client labs. So I don't know anything about thin clients, so I can't help you with that question. I'm not the thin client guy. About the LastPass incident, I hear someone say if someone's source code was stolen, for them, it is not a problem because it's like open source. What happens if the code is proprietary? It's not the same. I hope no company relies on the obscurity of their code to remain secure as a product. If your code getting out compromises the security of your product was never really secure. It's really not any more complicated than that. If obscurity is your hope for security, you're not really secure. You're not legitimately secure. Companies want to keep their code proprietary for licensing reasons, for legal reasons, does not change the security of said code. I am partial to open source code. Open source means there is the option for people to go through, audit, and understand the code and how a product was built. But for example, people who say things like, hey, Microsoft should go open source. I don't think as many lawyers as they have, I don't think it's ever going to happen with Microsoft because of so many different cross licenses that they have built the giant behemoth that is things like the Windows and a Windows product line. And this is true for a lot of companies that they can't just always flip a switch unless they develop the code base by themselves. Now, I think they should all, if you're starting out a product today, I think it is better to do a product open source, but there's still people who have different opinions on that. But that shouldn't be the basis for their security is no one can see the source code. Therefore, we have better security. So that's my thoughts on the LastPass and the secure on there. So yeah, I am definitely trying to smart. Someone picked up on I was tabbing too far and going into the partitions. That is correct. So that's it. What's my favorite brand of hard drive? I don't have one, but I will admit the best reporting on this is always the people over at Backblaze. Because your favorite drive is a very relative thing. Just because those Hitachis in there lasted a long time, that doesn't mean a Hitachi today will last a long time. So these, hands down, I don't think I've ever seen anywhere that tests the data quite as well or produces as much data as the people at Backblaze. So I'll throw a link down here for people who want to read through it. They just have a lot of good historical data on drive. So out of 215,000 drives, 763 drive failures, annualized failure rate of 1.46%. But then you can dive into the details for any one of those quarters, which are the drives that failed, what was their rate. Now, the thing that is important that I really like that they do here, and it's the drive days. That is a very important number. And I've seen people try to say, oh, it's not a great number, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, it's an incredibly important number because one, you have to take everything accordingly based on the sample sets of data. So testing 12,000 HGST drives is a great sample set. Testing 76 drives, maybe not as good of a sample set. So it doesn't take much to fail out of 76 drives to get what looks like a high failure rate, but you got to remember the sample set is long and how many hours have they, the cumulative days of usage. And this is one that doesn't look good for Seagate. Seagate having this higher percentage, obviously 18,000 hard drives, quite a few drives, but out of that, that's a percentage and a large sample set. So I would probably say the Seagate 4 terabyte series, not great. The 12 terabyte series, not great. But the 6 terabyte series, 886 drives, decent sample set. The 10 terabyte and 12 terabyte, but not this 12 terabyte, but this 12 terabyte here. So this 12 terabyte, 20,000 drives, 1.2%, but these Seagate drives here. So this can help you and guide you along the way, but this is obviously not inclusive of every hard drive. This only represents the hard drives that they purchased. So it's not going to be this sample set of maybe your favorite hard drive or the hard drive you could find on sale. It may not be part of their sample data because this is a pretty narrow band of drives. They actually address and talk about that. And one of the reasons they they talk about is just they have to buy drives. Well, you need 2,000 drives to be able to test 2,700 drives requires you to purchase 2,700 drives. So with all that data on there, some vendors can't fulfill a drive order of the same type of drive and quantity that they're looking for. So if you read through their blog post, they talk about their selection process. One of the criteria has to be, can you supply 1,000 at a time, whatever the batches that they're ordering on there. So yeah, that's just an important aspect that really has to be thought about for this. And these, by the way, aren't necessarily the most expensive or least expensive drive. I kind of found some of them are in the mid range on there. So, what's my favorite brand? I do take this data into assessment if I'm going to buy a quantity of drives. If you're buying a one off or one drive, it may not matter as much. Yeah, Backblaze, great reporting. Is there a consumer AV that actually compares to the protection offered to business? No, I would say, well, I would say probably the best one out there for consumers is just the Microsoft Defender. I don't see a reason not to use it for consumers. I don't know of any consumer AV that compares to like Sentinel One. So I don't really have any help on that. I also don't spend a lot of time looking at them, so I am not well researched in it. I spend zero time testing consumer AV products. So I know based on my little bit of reading, things I see in the news, but I'm not aware of any that are particularly good. The year that the three had 3 terabyte failing, yeah, there's a couple of those that are bad. I've got a Mac on the bench with a failing 3 TB. So yeah, 8% loads of corruption. WDCs. Yeah, WDCs are pretty popular. We've got the Seagate drives in our 45 drive server. I've been really happy with them. Wendell is just Wendell from Level 1 Techs just released some videos, and he's using some of those same Seagates as well. They're Seagate's Exos drives. They seem really solid. They're what 45 drives is part of the recommended list. I don't have any problems with them. They've been working quite well. I just can't complain about them because nothing's broke. Well, I mean, something was broke when we first got them because one of them was bad out of a batch of them, but it was bad like from the rip. It was not like it went bad later. It was bad within the first week we used it, and it had errors on it within 24 hours. I formatted it, ejected it, put it back in, and yeah. So it back and forth. I don't know. Whatever came of the WD HDD vulnerability? I don't know what you're referencing. It's actually not just the. I guess it depends which one. If you're talking about, let's see, they have those vulnerabilities in their. Let me find someone who had a good. There's been a couple different ones, but they were things about their external hard drive vulnerability affecting MyBook Live dual external drives. Could be attacker could remotely delete things on there. And this is an old product. It's a consumer product. There's not a lot. I don't know. It's a consumer thing. There were some flaws found in it, and Western Digital, I think, chose not to do anything. So because it was such an old product, I don't think they released any firmware updates for it. I don't know. I don't remember following this details on there, but I don't hold in high esteem any of those consumer facing external drives that have extra security features or internet features on them. I don't recommend them. Some of our Synologies, and I can probably log into my Synology, see what drives are in there. The commercial Synologies, we have, let me find it. Where's it at? So I think it's the storage manager that has that. I'm trying to where it tells me the drives. Cool. We have these Seagate which ones are these? Iron Wolves. We get a lot of these Iron Wolves on there. They say that they come with the 2-year warranties on them. This what's running in my system here is these Seagate Iron Wolves. I haven't had any problems with them. They seem to be pretty good. I haven't really done much with Kioxia. I have a couple Kioxias and they're working, but I haven't deployed them at scale. So JBOD versus SAN, what's the use of a hypervisor in TrueNAS? I never use the hypervisor in TrueNAS, so I don't really have any comment on that. I'm using XCP-NG for a year now. We updated using Yum Update. Is that correct? Is the correct way I download new ISO? No, you can do in-place upgrades with Yum Update. The way XCP-NG works is it's pulling from their repositories, so you're fine. You're not pulling from the normal because it's based on CentOS, but they're maintaining it. So when you do the updates, it reaches out not to the general CentOS repositories, but specifically to the XCP-NG because it's a customized distribution. I remember one last year where they deleting data. Yeah. What made me dislike WDHE was they had not disclosed certain red drives that they were using CMR. They sold red drives without disclosing it. Yeah, that was shady. That's for sure. The SMR CMR debacle a couple years ago. She says we got to go out and thank Lawrence Systems. Hope be back next week. I'm missing context for part of that, I think. Lawrence Systems, thank you. I'll take a thank you. I'm context for what the thank you's for, but I'll take a thank you. Yeah, don't enable standard repos. That would be a good point right there. Is it possible to use multiple domains on HA proxy, not subdomains? Yes, that can be configured. Because you can have multiple certificates managed in HA proxy and everything else. That's really not that big of a deal to do. I only did the demo video with one certificate when I did my HA proxy video, but I mean, you can have more than one certificate set up inside of TrueNAS. And then when you're setting up HA proxy, you would just choose whichever certificate matches whichever domain, not necessarily subdomain. So the concept works the same way when you're setting those up. Hopefully that makes sense for you. I don't know. What was the other thing someone had asked? I've done a troubleshooting video in HA proxy, but man, people still get DNS wrong. It seems like all the support options or support requests in my forum relating to HA proxy are always someone had DNS wrong. Someone else had DNS wrong the other day on it. Like the joke of it's always DNS. Look, with HA proxy, it seems like 99% of the time when people have a problem with it not working, it's DNS. They didn't follow the DNS settings. They don't understand how DNS works. They don't understand the role DNS plays and how your browser sends the data to HA proxy. That's all extremely relevant because the browser has to have a DNS lookup and then say, this is the website I'd like. It resolves to this IP address. So let me request and do a server name request for this website. So HA proxy will get that information and send up and serve up the right site, the right certificate. So yeah. When Squid replaced HA proxy, Squid is a reverse proxy. Squid, different proxy types. They're both proxies, different proxy types. Squid is generally used as a proxy for filtering websites and things like that. I'm not a big fan of it. It's kind of a headache to use. That's why I did a whole video on web filtering to discuss all of that. So that's definitely something to think about there when you just watch my video on web filtering if you want to dive into the details of that. I'm getting to wind down to the end of this. I did do my first sponsored video. Those are going to be coming out soon. I'm going to release it. The current plan is looking like Wednesday. We recorded it today. We recorded a whole demo. It's a new series, so to speak. Well, not my series, but I'm going to do, instead of peppering my videos with a bunch of pre-roll ads, I try to keep those to a minimum. I don't think I've had any so far, but I may have a couple. Well, we have like Linode on the channel, and Linode wants to sponsor a couple of our things. Working with Linode has been great. But I'm going to do some dedicated sponsored posts. And the reason for those is so I don't have to do as many little sponsors across lots of videos where people go, yeah, I heard this ad read on 7 other channels. But I also want them to be more engaging and educational. So even though it's a sponsored post, we dive deep into how to solve a technology problem. We, of course, are going to talk about the tools that this person has that do solve that problem, but it still can get you thinking about the problem, thinking about different angles of how you want to deal with it. So it's both a technical discussion and educational discussion. And so I want it to be beneficial for all parties involved. And then, by the way, if you're interested in the product, hey, the product solves that problem. If you just want to look at how that problem needs to be solved and invent your own product based on that, or look at other things and, for comparison, my goal is to just be bringing that level of education and interaction to the channel. So that video will be released on Wednesday. And then tomorrow I'm doing a video with Fin Security. I've talked about them. I'm an investor in Fin, so I'm very transparent about my relationship with them. They did not pay to be on the channel. I actually gave them money. But I think it's a cool product. I'll pull them up real quick. There are a phishing company. They just have some neat things. So we'll be talking. I'm not going to probably do this a live stream. I'm going to do it recorded and present with the people at Fin, talking about what it is, how it works, and what makes them different than some of the other phishing and security awareness things on there. So yeah, that's definitely who the video I did the sponsorship with today. Let me do something better. Let me see if this works. I don't know if they have it set up yet. So they are building a special link. That way people, if they would like to hit the special link. And I will throw this out here and we'll just see how many hits this gets. I'm going to throw it in the link here. This literally just went live today. So the video is not live yet because we only recorded it. The company is Sasleo. So let me pull up sasleo.com and show you what they do. This is the company, and it's just, if you want to, I put the link in there if you are interested in doing it. But Sassio, I did an interview with them. I've known John for a while, but we sponsored. We have a full product demo. This is a product we're integrating ourselves, but it's really interesting of the problem it solves, and it gives you a lot of visibility and insight into what your clients are using. And man, is it slick! Like it's one of those things you don't know what you're missing until you start playing with it. And you're just like, wait, how does all this work? It does what? Cool. Basically, what you're saying is, in a nutshell, it gives you a list and a bunch of action items around it. The videos can be fun. I can't wait to release it Wednesday because this is just a neat product to me. But what they do is they go in, they have a agent they load on the endpoint, and then a browser hooks that go in. Now, the browser hooks are fully, but if you didn't know, all browser plugins technically are open source because you can't obfuscate the code that goes into a browser plugin. And they're watching all the business sites that people go to and then builds actionable lists and items from this. So I think this product is just really neat. So one of the things you can track, for example, and this is a real problem. So let's talk about data loss prevention. Data loss prevention is the holy grail. We want to know how our data was exfiltrated from the company. And frequently, let's say Dropbox being a business application, I know when people log into Dropbox, we can track that. We can have a firewall or a proxy watch that. But the firewalls and proxies usually aren't advanced enough to know what login they use. This will give you that insight of what logins were used, whether it was a personal or business, and then trigger an alert based on those things. You can also break it down to every individual employee and say, here's all the sites, and create onboarding lists and offboarding lists. And you can go back and you can really drill down and say, this is all the baseline for what this particular user uses. These are all the websites they go to. Here's all the data they put in there. You can build a lot of insight on there, and it's got really nice reporting to have actionable conversations with your client. So you can have this, and it actually has a list called, the reports are called like onboard lists and offboard lists. So you can say, hey, before you get rid of a certain person in certain position at company, here's all the sites that they log into on a regular basis. Here's all the different places on there. And I think that's really interesting to have that information, have a conversation with your clients about it. And we're testing this out with our clients because we've learned quite a bit. So it's definitely pretty slick. Is Marcus trying to say is Marcus saying the pizza's getting cold, Tom? Yeah, he wants pizza. Oh yes, I don't want to sprinkle it with NordVPN everywhere. No, I do not. Submitting my bi-monthly plug for Nextcloud TrueNAS video. Yeah, maybe. It's definitely interesting as a MSP for sure. I want pizza too. Do you plan on doing videos about IPv6? No. Maybe if IPv6 becomes popular, and people always send me stats. There's like people have been tagging me on Twitter and IPv6. It's the year of IPv6. Okay, if you say so. I'm not worried about it. My son wants me to do all the NordVPN sponsors. Yeah. Yeah, I don't ever want to do VPN sponsors. See, VPN stuff is just flat out oversold. Yeah. What is the next thing we're gonna pull up here? This will be the I did have a bunch of hot sauces. This is my friend Jason, and the we had a lot of hot sauces at the office the other day. We just were being simple, and we went and just got a bunch of B-dubs plain wings and threw hot sauce on there. So, but we have a few. We have, let me try to zoom in here. Which ones did we go through that day? We actually ended up getting more out, but there's a good variety of hot sauces on here. Plus my one that was sent to me from Australia. I tell you what, though, the pepper plant one's really good. I like the stuff them. The garlic ghost fusion. Oh, the ghost hot sauce is great. Ghost pepper steak sauce. Man, that's just, I like the ghost pepper steak sauce. That is really a good, I'm definitely going to say I enjoy that one there. My son is a big fan of the garlic confusion. My son is probably less a fan of Raid Shadow Legends as a sponsor. Hi, I'm wondering if you know what I can use OpenVPN to connect to a server and port forward and use a VPN server for players to connect so I don't leak my main IP. Nope, I don't have a solution for that. I heard today that some ISPs in Sweden have started to charge customers to not be put by CGNAT. Kind of sucks. Yep, that's common. That's happening here in the United States as well. My dad lives in a rural part of Michigan, pretty out there. They have a wireless ISP because of the remoteness of the area, and you get NAT. You get CGNAT. You don't get a public IP address. Mobile game apps do pay very well. This is true. There's I know. So the VPN companies, they offer quite a bit of money depending on how many viewers you have for things, but I just don't want to do that. So I said, leave room for chips, nothing but sauce. Yeah. Yeah, the sauces, it's all about the sauces. And someone may point out, and we can have a laugh. Yes, we do have some Tums right there at the top. So definitely an important aspect of things is you have the Tums at the ready, right? What else is there to discuss? There was something else I was going to talk about, but I think I forgot. I think I've reached the end of it. And this is here, we'll pull this one up real quick. Here's my son. This is my son. Look at this. His pizza is so plain. He just does pepperonis here and Parmesan. Look at this. I make it an art.
Parmesan.
I make artwork out of this. My son's so boring when it comes to pizza. So
I put 4 things on my pizza. That's it.
You remind me of Ella Schreck when you cook your spawn with nope. I need to play the cue the Jeopardy music.
Wait, you can't get a copyright strike.
Your upcoming Nextcloud on TrueNAS. Well, the good and the bad about Nextcloud on TrueNAS is the video is going to be really dead simple, but kind of boring if you do it on TrueNAS Core. One of the problems, and I mentioned it in my video, is the fact that you cannot run the, is it Collabra Office, the Nextcloud Office plugins because they don't work in BSD. So but I am building another server that's going to be, well, I got to rebuild it. I'm going to build another box that's going to be for the TrueNAS scale. So I want to do some more testing. I may, if I feel real confident after I build that one, convert one of mine to TrueNAS scale so I can dive into it really. So yeah, that's going to be, then because it makes more sense to run it on TrueNAS scale because it should work with all the plugins. I don't know. I haven't tested it, but if it does, awesome. And I pointed out in my last video that even the people at IX Systems have made a note now stating that if you want a better experience with Nextcloud, that you should be running it in TrueNAS scale. So yeah. My main problem is that I can't designate main pool as yes, you can. You may not. You just probably don't know how to map the data sets in there.
What's the hot sauce for today, Dad?
We didn't have a hot sauce today. We just talked about the pizza and my friend who had all the hot sauces.
I can go grab them.
So, oh, you can bring a hot sauce down? All right. After you do that, then I'm going to wind down the live stream. My son's going to go grab a hot sauce that we will show on here. Right. So go get the hot sauce of the day. Then we'll, yeah. The problem is I mean, there's a joke that's been going around forever. There's one of the local computer meetups, I think it's called MUG, Michigan Users Group. I sporadically show up at those events and meetups. I have friends that go there. They've been doing a talk for years there called The Year of IPv6. The talk is now like 18 years old. So yeah, it's just, it's one of those things. It just hasn't really caught on. Oh yeah, that one's good.
This one is good.
What is this one called?
I don't even know.
I don't know how to say it. So I'll let you guys read it. What does that say? Is it? There we go. Focusing. This has face focus. So I got to cover my face to get it to focus. I don't know. We got this from
Pepper Palace.
Yeah. It just says like SAI medium sauce. I have no idea. This sauce is really good though.
It's just called Sauce Makers.
Sauce Makers. Yeah. Look, we found it at Pepper Palace.
It tastes good though. I take a whiff of it.
SQL hot sauce.
That smells good.
Actually, someone's gonna laugh at this one. I've never tried this, and I'll bring it up here in the stream where we take off and get pizza. But I did find this brand called Hacker Hot Sauce with some amusing names. So where's it at? Mango Bin SH, Reboot, RM-RF Insides, Eternal Blue, Beta Sauce, 12-bit Salt, Buffy Overflow, Ghost in the Bin. But they don't have much, like, their branding is cool, but not incredible. I'm going to say I give them an okay. It's neat that they have this. It's neat that this exists. It's hackerhotsauce.com. I figured they'd have even more branding and cleverness. So what else do we have in here? Is there a noticeably larger chance? Is there a noticeably larger chance of data loss with TrueNAS scale? Wondering if it'd be a bad idea to upgrade or switch to scale. I don't know, and I haven't tested enough. I feel like they got the ZFS right, but they still have all the bugs in Docker and Kubernetes and the management around it. But Wendell did a video talking about that, all the bugs they have around that. But as far as did they do ZFS right? Yes, I think they got the ZFS part right. Sauce Makers Reserve Medium. In 2018, me and our MSP, we co-managed. We're planning a second location. I mentioned IPv6 and he laughed. Still no IPv6 in 2022. Yeah, it's just not. I mean, the home users ask about it all the time. Businesses, it's just not. It's not. I mean, it's not that it's not used anywhere. There are exceptions, so I'm not saying in absolutes here, but it's not as widespread as some people seem to think it is. So that's just life. That's life in 2022. But I'm going to wind this down. I'll give you guys 2 more minutes of questions. Any final questions before we wind all this down? Throw a few rapid fire questions and see if Tom can answer them.
What's your favorite hot sauce, Dad?
My favorite hot sauce?
Yeah.
I don't have a favorite. I don't know. I got to admit, I really like those pepper plant ones, though. The pepper plant chunky garlic.
Chunky garlic
Pepper plant. That was an addiction. I had to stop. We bought like a gallon of it because I started eating it so much.
We bought 2 gallons.
We did. We went through 2 gallons of it.
Miles mostly ate it.
Yeah. Actually, you got to go to Amazon for this. So hold on. Amazon.
Oh, we need more. It's so good.
Yeah, we ordered these big ones here. We went through so much of this.
It's so good.
It's like $18 a bottle. It's actually a really good deal. Here, for those of you that just want a direct link to it, here we go. We'll just, drop a link in there for you. So, are you using Ceph Cluster 45 drive storage? Or are you making a video about it? I'm going to work with 45 drives on a video for Ceph Cluster storage. So yes, there's videos coming on that topic with 45 drives. In the meantime, watch the 45 drives videos. They have great videos on that topic. They're the Ceph experts. What PBX would you recommend? We still use free PBX. It works. We don't really support it for our clients, though. We went to a fully managed VoIP solution because I don't have time to support a PBX solution right now. So if I understand this correctly, the ZFS file system, file integrity part, should be darn solid, but there might be flaky stuff on top of it. So risk of that is too similar to core. I think so. I have no idea. Being a hot sauce server, you should be a requirement to work for Tom. Not necessarily. Yeah, 2 gallons, and I felt shame. Yeah. There's a place in Portland where it's just beer and hot sauce. That sounds good.
That sounds great.
Yeah, half gallon for $18, man. That's a deal. I agree. I think it's a great deal for this stuff. So I thumbs up for it. It's just good. And the flavor. Oh, the flavor's wonderful on it. Yeah. He's a big fan of it back here.
I like hot sauce.
Yep. But all right. Thank you everyone for joining. Where are we getting pizza from? People, we won't leave them hanging.
What I got last time.
You want the
Fanceroni pepper.
Little Caesars.
With the Italian breadsticks.
Little Caesars and Italian breadsticks. All right. So we've answered the question for those people that usually ask what's the pizza of the day. We can do pizza of the day all the time. So it's favorite Goosebumps book.
My favorite Goosebumps book? You think I read?
He has a favorite Goosebumps shirt, and that's where it stopped.
Yeah. I mean,
hey,
what's on the back of this?
I don't know. Hey, favorite manga?
Manga? Oh, that's a hard one. I don't know. I'm reading Demon Slayer right now. That's pretty good.
All right, Demon Slayer manga. That's his favorite, not Goosebumps book. Bash the like button. Yeah, do that before everyone leaves here. Hold on.
The like button.
126 people, 51 likes. Let's go ahead and crank those likes up. We can throw that up on the screen. That'll be our wind down. We'll watch the likes go up.
All right.
Then I'll order a pizza. I can probably order a pizza while the likes go up too.
Yeah, let's do that.
Turns out I don't have to stop the stream to order the pizza. Yeah. Hi, guest. Log in. We're doing a pickup
Yep.
today. Start your order. Cool. Fancheroni pepperoni.
Yeah, it's so good.
That is so many pepperonis on that.
It's so many, but it's so good.
Yeah, crazy. So that's there. And we want the
Italian.
pepperoni breadstick or just Italian?
I say the pepperoni ones. I didn't know there were pepperoni.
All right,
ones.
and pepperoni breadsticks.
Just all the pepperonis, Dad.
All right, checkout. No thanks. Don't add those to cart. Payment and place order. You'll be ready at 5:21. Wow, great.
What time is it?
I don't know. Not 5:21.
5:05.
How many likes do we got now? 71 likes. Awesome.
Ooh. Does it say?
Oh, if I'm root, he is not root. This boy doesn't know root. He does not know Linux. Hang out the library. Yes.
No, I can barely read, so.
Yeah, he can read.
I can read.
long as
It's just not very well.
Yeah, he's working on that.
Yeah.
That's why we got him in school still. Good hardware. Get an Netgate 6100 has 10 gig support. Pepperoni with some pepperoni, please.
Yes.
Yes. That's what the Little Caesars Fancheroni pepperoni thing
Yeah,
is.
look at that thing. It says over 100 pepperonis.
Yes. So we'll share this screen next. This is what we get. The Fancheroni pepperoni. It's just tons of pepperoni.
It's so good.
By the way, Little Caesars, not a sponsor.
Yeah.
But
I don't know, maybe you could one.
Words are hard. Words are hard.
Words are hard, especially when you read them.
Yeah, words are harder when you're. Oh yeah, I am Groot. I think that I am
root.
Yeah. I am Groot and root here too. So yes, all right, we're gonna go get a pepperoni pizza. Thank you all for joining. Hit me up in the forums. Say hi on Twitter. Ask silly questions and be talked about on maybe a YouTube video.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for hitting that like button. And I will see you next time. And or at an event, if I see some of you in person, I'm going to keep mentioning those at the beginning so you can figure out where I'm at. Thanks, everyone. Later.
Bash the like button.
Bash the like button.